What's up, Nabs? It's Platinum TDX, the Dragon Extreme, and this is my third time recording the intro. But welcome back to the channel for a new video, and I think that I'm not alone when I say, as a Legacy of Goku fan, we've all wanted a remake of it. And a few years back, there was this sort of like Facebook post that was sort of granting our wish, but it never seemed to come to fruition. But now we have a console version of that very same game, or so to speak, or a spiritual successor, or spiritual remake, or whatever you want to fucking call it. So, let's talk Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Alright, so, first up, I want to talk about the graphics and aesthetics. Over the past few months or so, since E3 when the game got officially revealed, I've been looking at a lot of the assets, like web assets and renders, character models, and the shading, the visual effects with the beams and blasts and whatnot, and they all look great, except some of the character models. They look a little, like Vegito, for instance. He was recently revealed, or shown off. He looked a little off. Now, the game itself, like the shaders, and the way it brings life with color, CC2, CyberConnect 2, they've never had trouble doing this. And this is why I have full faith in them to make the game visually appealing to the best degree we've seen ever. And even including Fighters. Because Fighters, while it looks great, and it replicates that anime feel, I'm playing a game. And sometimes that anime feel can make me, while it makes me immersed in most cases, in some cases it makes me not so immersed because the frame limit and the frame rate is just so jarring. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that's the point, but it's still a little off. But anyways, this is a video about Kakarot, not Fighters. The game so far visually looks amazing. The blasts, they have the white inline inside them with the heavy stroke, or either like the beam trails behind them. The bosses have like these really cool like effects, and you see like Raditz doing his double Sunday, and every blast looks unique and it has life to it. And that's one thing I can't say about every Dragon Ball game. But with every pro, there's a con. The environments are lacking, and there seems to be little to no destruction at all. Like, I haven't seen buildings blow up at all. I haven't seen you be able to put a crater in the ground. It's just, it's off. Like, everything is shaping up visually to be the best Dragon Ball game we've had, but then you have, like, the details are missing, you know? I think those little aesthetics can go a long way. But anyways, let's go to the gameplay. So, as you guys know, if you've played any of the previous CT2 games or CyberConnect 2 games, like Naruto Storm or Asura's Wrath, you would know that they tend to have regular battles, and then boss battles are completely different. They throw some shit in the air. Like Storm 3, I remember at the end of that game, you fought like the big fucking whatever that fucking thing was called, the Ten Tails or whatever. That boss fight was fucking amazing. Even in Asura's Wrath, like, that game had nothing but amazing boss fights, and they know how to implement QTEs in a way that doesn't seem like you're just watching a movie. It's like you're actually invested in it. They do it better than even Insomniac did in Spider-Man PS4. I thought the QTEs in that game were fucking terrible, because I would have much rather just watched the cutscene, because that's what it was. They just put QTEs in it. Like, what the fuck? But the gameplay seems pretty interesting. Every villain so far seems unique. Raditz, like I mentioned before, he has that double Sunday that goes around in like a circle, and you have to sort of maneuver your way around it. And then he has like the big balls of energy. I think those are called the Shining Fridays. He'll throw those at you, and he throws like 3 at a time, so you gotta like move out of the way. And the fact that the environment's so much more open allows you to like just fly around. It reminds me of Battle of Z, does it not? And I'll say this to get it out of the way. Reminding something of a terrible game does not mean that it's terrible, okay? Battle of Z was fucking atrocious. But it had some good qualities to it that every Dragon Ball game from now on can take from. That being the open environment and the flying mechanics. That was Battle of Z's, like, bread and butter. Like, the flying in that game was amazing. It just wasn't fast enough. But so far, from what we've seen, we've only seen a couple of the boss fights or, like, glimpses into them. But I'm sure, like, with Kid Buu and Super Buu and all the rest of them, it's going to be a lot better. But as for the combat itself, and this is sort of different, it's a part of gameplay, but the combat itself is very floaty, and this is why I jokingly call it Battle of Z2. People were calling Xenoverse that, but that wasn't it at all. The combo structure was very different. This game is very much, it's sort of like a twist. It's what Battle of Z could have been, you know? Like, play Battle of Z once Kakarot comes out, like play Battle of Z, then play Kakarot, and you'll see what I mean. And I'm not saying I played Kakarot or anything, but some things you can just see, you know? There's not very much, like, a sense of urgency when you're hitting someone. They don't really react. It's sort of like you're just punching them and you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And you can't, from what I've seen, you can't touch the ground while you're fighting. Like, sure, you can get hit down, but you can't touch the ground, like, with your feet while you're fighting. So that means no running in combat, which I think is a missed opportunity, because that could, like, split up the moveset. So you could have a ground-based combo system and an air-based combat system. Maybe hit them up into the air and then follow up and then start with your air dash. Like, that'd be good. And it's not like CC2 hasn't done this before with Storm. In Storm, you have your land or your ground combat, and then you have your air combat. And everyone is different in the air. And it looks very mashable. When you're hitting someone, it's sort of like you're just punching them until they get to the next attack that they're going to do. Like, they're giving you turns to take, which I think doesn't really work. But then again, this is an RPG, and it's about the adventure, and it's about leveling up your character to do the most damage in as little time. So, whatever. And that brings me into my next point. The story. Single player only, which I see both sides of the coin sort of arguing. There are people like, we need PvP, we need multiplayer, and I'm like, bro, what's wrong with having a good single player game? Honestly, over the past year, most of the games I've played have been single player. Resident Evil, Metro, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I got that this year. And I've played some other campaigns from multiplayer games that I missed out on. And honestly, not every game needs multiplayer. You still need that game that sometimes you just want to chill and play, maybe hang out on a Discord call and just talk to a couple friends and play the single player. Like, it's fun. And I think Kakarot could be that game for a lot of people. It's an open world RPG, quote unquote open world, and the reason I say quote unquote is because it looks like there are multiple open environments, but there's nothing to do in them. And by that I mean, sure, you'll have like Gohan playing fucking baseball or some shit. Like, no one cares about those shitty mini games. We want actual side content to go through. And I know you could talk to Android 8 and very little, like, nods to the original series and whatnot, and it's cool like that, but the problem is, with Dragon Ball, this type of thing only works if you create original scenarios, because there are so many open things, and so much side stuff that need answers. And I know we haven't seen everything about the game, but it's a Bandai Namco game. They've pretty much showed us what the game is about, and we can sort of draw conclusions based on what they've shown us. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of side content outside of collecting or doing weird mini games or fighting some peasant or patroller or whatever that's just on the outskirts of a town. I think it's kind of whack. And a lot of the mini games look fillerish, like they just threw them in there. I think the real thing a lot of people are going to be trying to do is just level up to get to the next story mission, instead of actually wanting to go into the side content. In Witcher 3, the side contents were arguably better than the main story. Like, hands down. The DLC was even better than the main story. Not to say the main story was trash or anything, it was great. But the side content is more memorable because We went out of our way to do that. Like, it captured us within those couple of minutes that we talked to that one person or we did that first quest for them. It captured us. Kakarot, I don't think will have that. Mainly because there's no room for it, or they didn't create the room for it. So, I don't know. And that's like the story, like, they keep doing these reveals like Buu Saga reveal or Vegito reveal. It's fucking Dragon Ball Z. We know what happens in it. Are you serious? Why are people even excited or surprised that we can play as Vegito or Gohan and fight Buu? Like, it's fucking Dragon Ball Z. Are you serious? Like, what did you expect? No, I could see if this was a brand new original story and you're like, I wonder if they're going to do Vegito to fight this villain. And he gets announced and you're like, yes! But no, it's fucking Dragon Ball Z and you're getting excited about fighting Buu with Vegito for the 50 millionth time in a Dragon Ball game. Sure, this is different, but it's still the same concept. The potential DLC for this game is huge because obviously we know it's going to Z. We don't know if the movies are included or not. They might include Broly as like a secret saga because, you know, Broly's popular. But what I would like to see them do is create their own original take on Bardock's story. We need to go through Bardock's story because we don't get to do that enough. And costumes, characters, this, that, and the third. Super, of course. But I think they have a really solid foundation that could be improved on in potential DLC or a sequel. But honestly, I don't think this game will get a sequel. I think this is going to be a one-off game. And we'll get the next game by, like, Dimps. And it won't be called Xenoverse 3. At least what I'm thinking. But that's Kakarot in a nutshell. Will I be buying it? No. Combat's not my cup of tea. Gameplay's dynamic, and I think it's really cool, and CC2 always does really good with that. And the game looks great from a visual perspective, but there's nothing there. There's no content. We can't destroy buildings, from what I've seen. There's no way to destroy the buildings. And if there is, I haven't seen much of any of it. There's no, like, aesthetic where you get the sense that you're in this high stakes battle outside of everything's big except you and the other guy. And when you start combat in the middle of the city, they teleport you outside the city. Or when you start combat in like the wastelands or the grassy plains, they teleport you to another part of the grassy plains instead of just having combat right there. And I feel like they're just doing that to load in a different combat, like the combat structure and everything, instead of just going straight into it. As for like just everything else, there's nothing that about this game that encapsulates me or wants me, or that I want to buy. Sure, playing as everyone will be cool again, but I've been playing as everyone for 20 years now. I think I'm kind of sick of it. And the game is called Kakarot, but it's about Dragon Ball Z, which is Kakarot's story, so to speak. But you would think they would start from Dragon Ball and move on up. You know? That's weird to me. What do you guys think? Are you getting Kakarot day one? Did you pre-order the collector's edition? What's going on with you guys? Let me know in the comment section down below. And, yeah. Peace out. Bye!
You say you always keep your word. Show me what you're after, just a little thing.